We discussed that on the previous pod. I think I explained the case very well as to why I think the behavior for a large part was justified from the Argentinians towards the Dutch. This game of intimidation, that the strategic sort of belittling and trying to embarrass and intimidate the opponent. We saw Dumfries and many others, of course, partake in. And then it was reciprocated. And as it was in the final as well, don't know if you saw that, but Martinez giving it to the French boys, Golo and company, as they stepped up and Tchouaméni, etc. Tchouaméni missed, right? Yeah.
I didn't watch that one. I turned my back to the TV. I was so nervous for him.
Well, yeah, and you should see. I forget. Maybe I'll retweet it from the Churros account. A journalist, I believe he's.
I saw it. The
Scandinavian.
Thread about
I think he's Danish.
The psychological. Yes. Yeah, I saw it.
Yes. Which, look, for me, Kian, I didn't complain for a second after the Holland-Argentina game. I didn't complain about the obvious handball not being called by Messi, as a matter of fact. Didn't complain a lot about the penalty calls and just, I mean, the record amount of yellow cards that were handed out by Mateo Laoth, excuse me. And you won't, because for me it was 50-50. We got what we deserved and what we were looking for. Now, I don't think there's anything wrong, neither, in these type of tournaments, in those situations, for goalkeepers to start playing mind games and psychological warfare, if you will, without crossing lines. Now, what are those lines? Well, I think physical abuse, first of all. You don't want them pushing, the goalkeeper or anything of that nature. I think that would be crossing line. I think throwing the ball, you're a referee. You give a yellow card, you need to set a tone and be assertive with it, establish the boundaries. So throwing the ball is a yellow card, but the waiting and the trash talking, I think you have to allow that, and I have to allow for that and expect that.
Yeah, I have no problem with that stuff. It's all mind games. You do what you can get away with as long as it's reasonable. It's always been part of the game, the psychological element. The stuff that I thought like there were lines crossed was when Aguero started to talk about Camavinga for absolutely no reason in the celebrations.
In the celebrations, right?
Calling him a thick face, and for like just so random. Like what? He's very like a 19-year-old kid. Like, I guess he later came on and apologized. But yeah, with regards to trash talk and the antics within the game, it's totally that I'm fine with what Martinez was doing. I think it's within the boundaries of what should be allowed.
So I think as well that I digressed here majorly. So, but applying that to the game between Holland and Argentina, once Holland was out, and I was very verbal about Holland wanting, obviously, Oranje to win and us win a World Cup, I'm now almost happy that didn't happen and that Messi won his World Cup, In retrospect,
come on, you wouldn't trade
in
that
retrospect,
for a Netherlands World Cup trophy. You wouldn't trade that.
Obviously, I would have been over the moon. I would have been super happy. However, again, in retrospect, would I have wanted Holland to win our first World Cup trophy, playing the way we played, and really disgracing this whole philosophy and idea behind Football Total? I prefer, if I can choose, I prefer it in 4 years' time. Let us get our shit together again. Let us allow the Kenneth Taylors, the creatives from the young boys from Ajax and your PSV, your Xavi Simons, and let those guys get a few more years of experience, and hopefully we can get a sneak in a forward or two as well that can bring a little more life into the offensive creativity and offensive power that normally Holland has always been. We've always characterized our style of play and through excellent offensive football players from the midfield upwards. That's not to say the Jaap Stams and defenders haven't been the Ronald Koeman. Obviously we've had world-class defenders always, but and now, I mean, from Timber to obviously Van Dijk and Ake, Holland's defense is very solid. If anything, it's still weird for me to see Holland being praised more and recognized more for its defensive line than offense. In any case, I feel like I'm dragging this on.
Well, either way,
get your thoughts as well. But do you understand what I'm saying? Do you understand what I'm saying? If I can choose, if you can tell me, Diego, I guarantee that in 4 years, so obviously it's never a guarantee, but if a genie comes down and says in 4 years you'll be able to win your World Cup and you'll do it playing much better than what you've been doing now, I would have said, well, this is the perfect story ending for Messi's career on the international level. He's won his World Cup.
Yeah, there are no right or wrong answers. I mean, everyone feels free to support whatever they want to support.
How do you feel about Messi winning the World Cup?
I think, to me, I gotta say, I was actually happy for him, and I think for me, I really I think a lot of I mean, you know me, I've never been emotionally attached to Cristiano Ronaldo. Mm-hmm. When I speak about him, I speak about his footballing abilities, and it's not like my posters in my room are like Raul and Zidane, and Modric. They're not Cristiano, but I really respect his footballing ability, and I think he's one of the best players of all time. And to me, number two, and I think this tipped the scale for me in terms of who is the greatest player of all time. Partly because there's no way that Ronaldo can now achieve what Messi just did because of the age and because he's just basically not a prominent.
He's ruining his career as well.
Yeah, I mean, this is the career is over. I mean, there could be a rebound, maybe. I don't know what happens for the next 6 months or so, but it's not. Even if he does, it's not going to be a prominent role, right? It's going to be a lesser role that he can contribute to a team off the bench, maybe. Mm-hmm. But I think a lot of criticisms of Messi that I had, and again, who am I to criticize Messi? I'm just a dude who can't play football sitting behind a computer. But it was always that, well, where has he been?
Aren't we all?
Where has he been, in these big Champions League games? And I think he answered a lot of that this World Cup, because from start to finish, he showed up and was really important. And everyone can criticize the amount of penalties he got, but those are penalties in really, really high pressure moments that he converted all of them, except for one, right? There was one earlier in the tournament, but either way, I mean, I think there was one.
I think he did miss one. Yeah, I want to say that he did.
But either way, I mean, he rose.
Might have even been Saudi Arabia. I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, maybe. Anyways, he rose the call and he was incredible. And I just want to also put a note on Argentina as a whole, because they started off so poorly. And even though they beat Mexico and then Poland, it still wasn't impressive to me. It was just okay, well, they made it to this round. No. Yeah. But then you look at how much better they got every game. And then by the final, by the time Scaloni makes that one wildcard change where he starts Di Maria, and unexpectedly Argentina decide to go on the front foot and attack from the first minute, France have no answers to what's happening. They're just bullying them. And I was thoroughly impressed with what I was seeing by Argentina, because everyone from the defensive line to the midfielders to the attackers, both wings, you had Messi on the right, Di Maria on the left. France just didn't know what to do.
Di Maria was great, by the way.
He was unbelievable.
What a fucking game.
Yeah, and this is Di Maria in the finals, right? He was amazing Copa America final, in the Champions League final in 2014. He stepped up. He's a big game player. And I guess France probably just were not expecting that to happen from the first minute. And then just the game was insane after that. But that's the Argentina perspective, was really impressive. And man, they who knows? It was at that point, no one could guess what was going to happen in extra time. The fact that France missed a breakaway at the last second before the penalty shootouts, what the hell was going on? Everyone was freaking out. And that's why, I feel by the time Argentina won it in the penalty shootout, the last kick was converted. There wasn't like a huge celebration. It was just they all fell to their knees and they were like, "Thank God the shit is over. We finally did it." And it could have gone either way. But I also wanted to make a note about France because before the tournament started, I said there's something about them that I don't trust because it doesn't seem like a unified team. And now you see all the reports coming out. You know, this is why Benzema was sent home. Pavard getting in fights on the bench during the game with the coaching staff. Griezmann and Lloris, the politics and them running the show. There's just something about them that I feel like maybe if they actually had gotten their shit together, this could have been maybe they could have actually won this game in regulation. But I just, that's an opportunistic comment either way, but there was just something about them that didn't seem as unified as the Argentinian team. And I think that stuff really matters.
They were very unified. Yeah.
And I think that stuff really matters at this level.
Of course. Yeah. Now, I think it's also true that in these kind of situations, obviously, reports can be a bit ventajista, as they say, taking advantage of the situation. Had it been vice versa, and had Kolo Muani actually scored on that last play, and France would have hoisted a World Cup, something in Argentina maybe would have exposed what was Kun Agüero doing there, what was these youngsters surrounding Messi, are they idolizing too much, etc. It's I'm just spinning a narrative here. I was somewhat aware, of what you were laying out there with regarding to the French team, mainly about the Mbappe. I didn't know about the fights Benzema. Didn't know about the fights in the dugouts as much. But it's we did talk about that. I believe we addressed that even ahead of the World Cup when I asked you what exactly is the Benzema situation. And I brought up the example of 2002 when Henri and company decided to sit on the bus and stay on the bus and not leave the bus and cause this awkward standoff that was reported on by the press where Dominic, I believe it was, and I might be wrong here, but who they wanted out basically as coach at the time. Anyway, I guess what I'm saying is France are no newbies when it comes to a situation like this. And despite that, they've still made it to the final and goddamn it, put 3 past Argentina and force two, and then obviously then the remontada also in extra time, and then force penalties. They did exceptional, and they have exceptional talent. They are so deep. It's difficult always for a federation, a team that meet for such short periods of time to find this cohesion and find this motive to get behind in such an intense and short period. I don't know if I've been to these like master classes, I guess I could call them, or these weekends or in university, we would go away for 4 days and I remember we would pretend that we were a record label or it was like what did I call that? When you sort of act out, you play this reality, this situation, you play out a current situation, all right? So you each get assigned certain role or task and or a position within a company. And then it was like a reenactment. I think that's the word I'm looking for, right? Mm-hmm. Anyway, all this to say that these kind of camps, if you will, these getaways are very intense and desgasta mucho. Like they take out a lot in you, but they also bring out the best in, meaning you might find this side of you or this extra energy when going gets tough and you're spending all this time with this selected group of people all fighting for the same mission, and if the stars align and the characters are right and there's a good chemistry in the dressing room, then it can progress over the span of the tournament and actually develop and blossom into something that's quite beautiful. And I guess the fact that this played out so well for the Argentinian national side, who, as you mentioned, Kian, went from less to more. And you saw them, I think, also just become closer as a group. I take kind of pride in the fact that I guess Argentina was already prepared for this, a simulation. I was looking for the word assimilation. That's you reenact the simulation, Kian, and that they had already, in this case, been through a similar simulation and prepared for this situation where they were up 2 goals, had to then deal with the setback of seeing the team remontar, right, make a comeback, forcing extra time to even in this final go that extra step and score the third, to then have to deal with the psychological and moral blow of seeing the opposition, the rival team, get one back, then go to penalties. That's you need to be mentally very strong and prepared in a way, or try to prepare yourself in that situation to overcome that. And it's admirable. It was a great thing to see. I'm not Argentinian. I don't care for Argentina. I've never had this bond or want or need for them to win. If anything, it's the complete opposite. They've been standing in the way of us winning our World Cups, 78, 98, we got the better of them. But then it was 2014, and now in the semifinal, and now again in the quarterfinal. So I didn't want them to win whatsoever, but I'm happy for Messi, and this has been a story it's scripted very nicely. I can't wait for the Netflix, Last Dance type of documentary that follows this story of the Argentinian national side and what has been just a great World Cup this 2022.
Yeah, and like for me personally, my national team support it hasn't been like, oh, this is the national team I support every time. Like it's, unless Canada's in every World Cup, which is not going to happen. I really don't have that team. But I did want to say, like, I have always gravitated towards certain national teams that are generally affiliated with Real Madrid players. So therefore, in the past, I've generally supported Brazil more than Argentina. France more than, let's say,
I would agree.
Yeah, France more than, let's say, Italy, because of the so many ties in the French team with Real Madrid in the history of football.
Right.
So, but I just did want to say with France in particular, because that team, and we have to talk about Mbappe's greatness, because that France team was in trouble, man. Like, they were doing nothing all game. Nothing. Like before they got the penalty, was the 70th minute or whatever it was, maybe more. I don't remember. Before they got that penalty, it didn't look like they had any chance of scoring. Like there was no way out. I couldn't see like, okay, they're exploiting this or doing that. Maybe there was like they were getting momentum with a little bit more possession, but they were still vulnerable to Argentina counters. They got the penalty, Mbappe converted. And when he scored the second one, I didn't really realize how nice the goal was until after, because when he scores, it's just like, what's going on? It's just crazy. Everyone's losing their mind. Then the replay, like when the ball gets to him, he hits it one time. It's an unbelievable strike. Like most players would have taken a touch or something. He just put his laces through it. It was a perfect finish. And I mean, he did his part. I mean, this is. I know that there's a clear argument against this, but like it's circulating now, his numbers versus Messi's numbers at the age of 23 and all this stuff. Or 4 goals is the most in World Cup final history. He's 23. He's already won a World Cup. He's like so close to so many records already. If he continues this, there's a good chance that he's going to be in the GOAT debate in 10 years. Like he's going to be there if he sustains this. There's no way he won't be. The numbers are just unbelievable. The counter to it is the obvious. Oh, he's in Ligue 1, so all these goals and stuff. But also,
and that's a valid argument. You cannot compare. La Liga Prime.
That's why I feel like for his own legacy, he's got to get out.
He's got to get out.
Don't you feel like everyone who's there now is just like in a prison? Like